be true. So that's false. All plants, all A or B is false. Then what would be true? The true would be a contradictory statement which says that some A or B. So, which of the following statements could be immediately inferred to be true? So, true, the first would be some A or B, some plants are green organisms. This is correct. C only. If that false, right, is false. False. Right? So if this is false, then this has to be true. That some are not. Some plants are not green organisms. Okay, this is correct, and this is the reason why it's correct. So in contradictory relation, if this is said to be B is false, then what this, that is some A are not B organisms. Okay. Now the next question. Which of the following statements are so related that they cannot both be true, although they both may be false? So they both cannot be true at the same time, but they can be false at the same time. So that's the A and E, the relation between A and E. So what it says is that they cannot both be true, right? So all fungi are living beings. This is the one. And no fungi are living beings. So A and B only. You see this? Because all and E. Now the next question. Which of the following statements are logically equivalent? Equivalent as in they give the same sense. So no amphibians are mammals. Right? No amphibians are mammals. All non-mammals are non-amphibians. That is also true. They give the same sense. And all amphibians are non-mammals. This does not give the same sense. And no mammals are amphibians. So no amphibians are mammals. And all non-mammals are non-amphibians. Also the same. All amphibians are non-mammals. No, doesn't relate to this. The next, no mammals are amphibians. All amphibians are non-mammals. And no mammals are amphibians. I think I might need to do a little explanation here. no amphibians are mammals. Right? No opposite non-mammals. No mammal. So amphibians, A, C, and D is the correct option. So no mammals, no amphibians are mammals. All amphibians are non-mammals. And no mammals are amphibians. That would be the logical answer to it. And you understand how that is happening. No amphibians are mammals. So there are no amphibians that are mammals. And then the same thing can be said as no mammals are amphibians. Correct? And all amphibians are non-mammals. That can also be the other way to say it. It can also be said to be that all amphibians are non-mammals and all mammals are non-amphibians. All mammals are non-amphibians. Amphibians. Just like this. All amphibians are non-mammals and all mammals are non-amphibians. Now moving on to the next. According to classical Indian school of logic, Nyaya, in the process of inference or Anuman, the reasoning proceeds from particular to particulars through the universal. In Anuman, it moves from particulars to particulars through the universals. Now, in Nyaya logic, inference involves starting from with general principles or universals and then applying them to specific instances or particulars to arrive at further universal conditions. The Nyaya school of logic holds that inference involves a 5-step process called Panchang, which includes Pratigya, which is a statement or proposition that is to be proved. Hetu, which is a reason or evidence that supports the proposition. So, the example of Pratigya is that the hill has fire. Okay? And then the Hetu is that whatever has smoke has fire. Udaharan is an example or instances that illustrate the relationship between the reason and proposition. That whatever has smoke has fire is an example of Udharan. This is Udharan. And for Hetu, it's actually therefore the hill is on fire. Because the hill has smoke, so the hill also has fire. You have open eye, the application of the reason to the proposition. So, because the hill has smoke, so it has fire, right? Because the hill has smoke, so it has fire. That's Upanay. And then you have Nigman, the conclusion or inference drawn from the previous steps. So the Nigman is the conclusion. And because the hill has smoke, so it has fire, is proven. It is proven that inference proceeds from particular instances or examples, Udharan, to arrive at a universal proposition, Hetu, that explains the relationship between the instances and the proposition to be proved, that is Pratigya. The process involves identifying a common characteristic or sadhan between the particular instances and the proposition, which leads to the inference of the conclusion or nigman. Now, the next question. If a compressed image file requires an average of 1 byte per pixel, then what is the maximum number of photos that can be stored on the memory card? 1 kilobyte equals 1 kilo equals 1004. So the answer is 1638. And how so? So the memory card has a capacity of 32 gigabytes. That is 32,768 megabytes. Each photo requires 20 megabytes of storage space, that is 20 million bytes. Now, maximum number of photos that can be stored on the memory card equals 32,768 megabytes divided by 20 megabytes per photo, which is 1638.4 photos. Since we cannot store a fraction of a photo, the maximum no wires are needed when exchanging files via Bluetooth. Bluetooth allows you to speak hands-free on a mobile phone. Music can be played wirelessly from your mobile phone to a speaker using Bluetooth. And transfer speeds when sending files are faster than using Wi-Fi. So this is not correct. Only work over long distances is also not correct. No wires are needed is correct. Bluetooth allows you to speak hands-free on a mobile phone. Correct. And music can be played wirelessly. That is also correct. So B, C, and D. B, C, and D. No wires are needed when exchanging files via Bluetooth. Bluetooth allows you to speak hands-free on a mobile phone. Bluetooth technology enables hands-free communication on mobile phones through the use of wireless headsets or earpieces that can connect to the phone via Bluetooth. Now, the next question. So, a file saved in a portable document format or PDF is a generic text file. And Moving Pictures Experts Group Layer 4 MP4 is an example of generic image file format. So, this is not correct, certainly. And is a generic text file is also not correct. So both are false. A file saved in PDF format is a generic file type, but it is not a text file. PDF files can contain a variety of content, including text, images, interactive elements such as forms and multimedia. Now, which one of the following acronyms matches incorrectly with its full form? So USB Universal Serious Bus, CRT Cathode Ray Tube, JPEG Joint Photographic Experts Group, and RFID is not radio frequency infrared device. This is not correct. So RFID, what is it? This acronym matches incorrectly. Actually, it is radio frequency infrared device. Radio read and capture information stored on a tag attached to an object. It is a cathode ray tube is used in older computer monitors and televisions, which works by firing electrons at a phosphor coated screen to produce an image. And then the next question, identify the correct ascending order of the following list of stages A to E when text written in magnetizable ink is passed over a magnetic ink character reader, that is MICR. So that correct options, the first is C, that is ink on the paper is first magnetized, and then is D, which is MICR text is passed over an MICR reader. And then the third is B, which is characters are then passed over the MICR read head. And then is A, so as each character passes over the head, it produces an unique wave form. And the last is E, which is the waveform is recognized by the computer system. So what happens first is that ink, and then is by the computer system. over the MICR red head. And then, as each character passes over the head, it produces a unique waveform. And then, the waveform is recognized by the computer system. Then MICR text is passed over an MICR reader. The paper containing the magnetized text is passed over the MICR red head, which is a device that can detect magnetic fields. The next characters are then passed over the MICR red head. Each character is detected as it passes over the MICR red head. The next, as each character passes over the head, it produces a unique waveform. The MICR redhead converts the magnetic signal from each character into a waveform which is unique to each character. The next, the waveform is recognized by the computer system. The waveform is then recognized by the computer system, which can identify the character and convert it into readable text. Additional information. A magnetic ink character reader (MICR) is a device used to read text that has been printed or written in magnetic ink. MICR technology is commonly used in banking and financial institutions to read the information printed on checks, deposit slips, and other financial documents. The MICR reader uses a magnetic redhead to detect the magnetic signal generated by the magnetized ink, which is converted into a wave form. The waveform is then recognized by a computer system which can identify the character and convert it into readable text. MICR is known for its accuracy, speed, and security, making it a reliable method for processing financial transactions. Now, which of the following decades is known as United Nations Decade of Biodiversity? So that's 2011 to 2020. The United Nations declared the period of 2011 to 20 as the United Nations Decade on Biodiversity to raise awareness and promote action towards protecting the planet's biodiversity. The main objective of this decade was to halt the loss of biodiversity and to raise awareness of the importance of conserving biodiversity and to promote sustainable development practices that consider biodiversity in decision-making processes. During this decade, several initiatives and programs were launched globally to promote conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity. This included efforts to increase protected areas, improve the management of ecosystems, and reduce the loss of species and genetic biodiversity. The UN Decade on Biodiversity aimed to encourage governments, NGOs, and individuals to take actions to conserve biodiversity and ensure its sustainable use for future generations. Although the UN Decade on Biodiversity officially ended in 2020, the importance of conserving biodiversity remains a critical issue for the global community, and efforts to protect and conserve biodiversity are ongoing. Now, first statement, negative feedback effects tend to increase the magnitude of climate change. Second statement, positive feedback effects tend to reduce the magnitude of climate change. So both are incorrect. Negative feedback effect tends to increase the magnitude of climate change is not correct. And positive feedback effects tend to reduce the magnitude of climate change is also not correct. The negative feedback are the processes in the climate system that act to counteract or dampen the effects of a change in the climate. For example, if the Earth's temperature increases due to increased greenhouse gases, negative feedback such as increased cloud cover or increased plant growth can help to reduce the warming. Therefore, the negative feedback effects tend to decrease the magnitude of climate change, not increase it. And positive feedback are processes in the climate system that act to amplify or reinforce the effects of a change in the climate. For example, if the Earth's temperature increases due to increased greenhouse gases, positive feedback such as melting permafrost or decreased ice cover can further increase the warming. Therefore, positive feedback effects tend to increase the magnitude of climate change, not reduce it. So, basically, Negative feedback are processes in the climate system that act to counteract or dampen the effects of a change in the climate. For example, if the Earth's temperature if the Earth's temperature increases due to increased greenhouse gases, negative feedback such as increased cloud cover or increased plant growth can help to reduce the warming. So that is the negative feedback. That's the negative feedback. It counteracts or dampens the effects of the change in the climate. And what it does is that increased cloud gases in the climate system that act to amplify or reinforce the effects of a change in the climate. They amplify or reinforce the effect of change in the climate. Temperature increases due to increased greenhouse gases, positive feedback such as melting permafrost or decreased ice cover can further increase the warming. So positive feedback, positive feedback, I'm sorry, negative feedback, negative feedback increases problems, and positive feedback of which chemical by decomposers. So that's oxygen. Organic materials. Adding organic materials such as sewage or paper pulp to water increases the amount of organic matter in the water. This organic matter serves as a food source for decomposers such as bacteria and fungi. As they consume this organic matter, they require oxygen to respire and break it down. Therefore, adding organic materials to water stimulates the consumption of oxygen by decomposers. This can lead to a decrease in the dissolved oxygen levels in the water, which can have negative impacts on aquatic organisms that also require oxygen to survive. Now, when organic materials such as sewage or paper pulp are added to water, they serve as a food source for decomposers like bacteria and fungi. As they break down these organic materials, they consume oxygen in the process of respiration. This consumption of oxygen by decomposers is known as biochemical oxygen demand, which is a measure of the amount of dissolved oxygen required by aerobic microorganisms to break down organic matter in water. When BOD levels are high, it indicates that there is a large amount of organic matter in the water, which can lead to reduced oxygen levels and harm aquatic life. Therefore, it is important to manage the disposal of organic materials such as through proper treatment of sewage and industrial effluents to prevent negative impacts of water quality